nimmst du mit drauf? Okay, Ilse, sitzt du? Ja. Liebe Freunde, ich begrüße euch alle ganz herzlich hier zu unserer gemeinsamen Konferenz von der FNP und in der SSW. Wir wollen heute über vieles reden, vor allen Dingen auch über Bundestagswahl. Wie hat der SSW es geschafft? Welche Herausforderungen gibt es da? Was könnte man lernen? Was können wir von unseren holländischen Freunden lernen? Und diese gemeinsame Konferenz, die auch von der EVA mit organisiert wird und finanziert wird, wird auf Deutsch und Englisch abgehalten. So I also try to talk a little bit English here. Welcome to our friends from FNP, from Netherlands. Welcome to the SSW members. Welcome to the staff and welcome to the people outside there in Facebook, hopefully. We have a conference where we would like to discuss how regional parties, minority parties can join national parliaments election, can do election. SSW have some experience and we want to discuss it with our friends from FNP from Friesland. We start with wir fangen also an damit, dass unser Landesvorsitzender Christian Derschauer mit einem kleinen Grußwort kommt und ich werde später noch erklären, wie das im Detail weitergehen wird. We start with Christian Derschauer, who is the chairman from the SSW. Christian, du hast das Wort.
Thank you, Martin. Dear friends from FNP, Kervenna, Livane, as SSW's new chairman and Flemming Meyer's successor, I wish you a very warm welcome here in Northern Frisia in Christian Jensen Kolleg in Bricklum. It's a great pleasure that you are visiting us here in Schleswig-Holstein. As you know, SSW, the South Schleswig Voters Association, is the Danish and the Frisian minorities political party here in Schleswig-Holstein. In Schleswig-Holstein, there are living about 50,000 Danish and about 50,000 Frisian people. SSW is having 3,200 members, about 200 members in local councils in the northern part of Schleswig-Holstein, 3 members in the state legislature in Schleswig-Holstein. So Jette Weininger-Thiering, Lars Harms and I, we are members of the parliament called Landtag in the regional capital city Kiel. And since September, 1 member in the National Assembly, the German parliament called Bundestag in Berlin. This is the reason why you are visiting us. Our 2 parties are having a good relationship and we are both members of the European Free Alliance, the EFA. And we have a very special connection because of the Frisian connection between Northern Frisia and West Frisia, or Friesland in the Netherlands, where you come from. FNP is part of the government in the province. SSW was part of the government in Schleswig-Holstein from 2012 to 2017. Now we are in opposition in the parliament of Schleswig-Holstein. In 2020, SSW decided to join the election for the National Assembly, the Bundestag, in 2021. We got more than 55,000 votes and our Stefan Seidler is new member of the Bundestag. Today on this conference we want to discuss together how SSW did win the election and the seat in the Bundestag. How our election campaign was and if and how FNP should or could join the national election in the Netherlands. I am sorry that I can't be part of the meeting the whole day. Unfortunately, a happening from yesterday is forcing me to be back in Flensburg at 5:30 p.m. But my vice chairman, Sibylla Nitsch, will take my part later this day. I'm looking forward to this conference. Thank you very much. Fåletung for Tuhian.
Thank you. And now we have the chairman from the FNP, Wouter Woda. Hope it was correct.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, liebe Freunde, dear political members of the EVA, SSW, SP and FNP. My name is Wouter Woda and I'm the chairman of the FNP. We are here today to learn from each other. Each political party makes their own journey in time. The SSW started this journey almost 75 years ago and managed once more this year a seat in the Bundestag. Ein großes Erfolg. We are here today in Breklum, a small village in North Friesland, where the countryside has recognizable similarities with our own Friesland. For example, the hills, the Halingen, the Terpen in the sea, or new land from the sea, the Koge or the Polders. This morning a group visited already two interesting locations, the Friesenraad and the Noordfriesk Institute. And now we will discuss with each other some very interesting topics. Topics about differences in political structures and regional and versus national interests. And of course the topic strategy and campaign. The FNP thanks the SSW for their invitation and also the possibility that the EVA gives us to organize this conference. The FNP hopes this day will give us new energy for the future and also strengthen our European connections. In general, I think a lot should be possible for regional partners like us. I wish you all a good and successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have an interesting program, 3 hours, where we would discuss together, where we hear some people telling of their experience, and where you also have the possibility to ask questions. So give me a sign if you want to ask questions. And people out there in Facebook can also ask questions. Then we try to integrate it in the discussion. Wir starten mit einem Podium, wo unser ehemaliger Vorsitzender, Flemming Meyer, den ich hochbitten darf, und Frank de Boer von der FNP, Mitarbeiter der FNP-Fraktion, etwas über die politische und staatliche Struktur Deutschlands, Schleswig-Holsteins und Frieslands, Holland erzählen werden, Niederlande, und auch etwas über den Hintergrund der politischen Teilnahme des SSW. So we started with a panel where Flemming Meyer, our former chairman from the SSW, and Frank de Boer, who is a political employer from the FNP in Friesland, will tell us something about the different political structure in Germany and in Netherlands, and also tell us, especially Flemming will tell us something about the background for why is SSW started to go to the election in Berlin again. So I hope we can do it this way. Yeah, you know. And we agreed that Frank is starting.
So welcome at this conference. I will start to give a brief overview about the similarities and the differences in first the structure of the state in Germany and in the Netherlands. So at the one hand the federal structure, and the other hand the unitary structure of the Netherlands, followed by some reflections on the election system and what effect that has on how the parliament is set up. So first of all, I think it's important to realize that Germany is a federal state with a federal government in Berlin, with competences in Berlin, and different states, different Bundesländer. In the Netherlands that's quite different, because there's only the national state with decentralized parts. You have in Germany, you have the basic law that divides the competences between the level of Berlin and the level of Kiel and the other Bundesländer. In the Netherlands, the national level can determine everything. There are also lower levels of government, like municipalities and provinces, like districts and municipalities in Germany too. But they have delegated competences. They have an own budget. They can decide things for their own. But in the end, if the Netherlands, if the government in The Hague decides we want to arrange something differently, then, well, they just have to follow. So I think maybe we could discuss a bit about the competences dividing between the Länder, the parts, and the federal level, the Bund. So maybe I think that you know more about it than I do. So what is covered in Berlin and what is done at the level of the land?
As I told you yesterday, my English is so bad. But I think it's better for me and better for you and better for the English language when I talk German. Ja, ist richtig. Der deutsche Staat ist ein föderaler Staat mit einzelnen Bundesländern und die Kompetenzen sind verteilt. Es gibt Kompetenzen, die liegen auf Bundesebene, es gibt Kompetenzen, die liegen auf Länderebene. Und es gibt aber, und deshalb sind wir als Minderheiten, darauf werde ich ja gerne nachher noch eingehen, sehr stark daran interessiert, auch in Berlin vertreten zu sein, weil es gibt ganz einfach viele Sachen, die in Berlin auch bestimmt werden und Sachen, die früher eigentlich viel mehr Ländersache waren, wenn wir kulturelle Kompetenzen, wenn wir Schulpolitik nehmen, die ausschließlich eigentlich Ländersache waren, dann spielt die Bundespolitik auch auf diese Felder mehr und mehr eine Rolle. Und da ist es unheimlich wichtig, dass wir als nationale Minderheiten auch in Berlin berücksichtigt werden. Und das ist mit ein Grund, weshalb es auch wichtig ist, dass unsere Stimme in Berlin auch gehört werden kann.
So, indeed, and that might might be also something that we are thinking about in the Netherlands. Right now, the provinces are mainly competent for the spatial planning, for determining how the landscape is going, for executing agricultural policies. It's a lot of execution also. Also the Frisian language is a competence of the province of Friesland. So that is I think that's more or less similar, but the structure is different. Having said that, I think we can move on to the part of the election system. And there we have a very striking difference in the system. I mean, you have somewhere below here that says, give your second vote to SSW. For Dutch people, that is almost incomprehensible. What about a second vote? We only have one. One man, one vote. You have one man, two votes. In the Netherlands, we also don't have an election threshold. If in the Netherlands you have enough votes that resembles 150th of the vote in total, you're in. You have a seat in the national parliament. In Germany, if you have, you need already 5% of the vote. Otherwise, well, your vote is just lost. Except for minority parties, of course. Which makes it very interesting to make the comparison between the situation in Friesland, where we don't have a threshold, and the situation as a minority party in Germany without a threshold.
Aber um das zu erklären, brauche ich ein bisschen Geschichte. Man muss also ein bisschen zurück in der Geschichte, weil 1945, als der Zweite Weltkrieg endete, dann war das so, dass wir das als Minderheiten und ein Teil der deutschen Bevölkerung als eine Befreiung empfanden. Das war wirklich dann eine Befreiung, aber man soll sich ja nicht irren. Der größte Teil der deutschen Bevölkerung fand das als eine Niederlage. Die fanden, das war eine Kapitulation und die wurden nicht automatisch alle Demokraten von einem Tag zum anderen. Und das führte dazu, dass die dänische Minderheit nach dem Zweiten Weltkrieg plötzlich einen großen Zulauf kriegte. Es kamen sehr viele Unser Kulturverein wuchs gewaltig. Der SSW, der 48 gegründet wurde, wir hatten 49, 27.000 Mitglieder plötzlich, wuchs also gewaltig, weil da so viele plötzlich sagten, also wir haben jetzt die Schnauze voll von Diktatur, wir haben Schnauze voll von Kaiserreich und so weiter, jetzt wollen sie mehr Demokratie und da waren wir ein Garant. Aber das war in der Mehrheitsbevölkerung nicht gut gesehen. Und es kam zu heißen Debatten im Landtag. Ich kann mich an eine Rede, die ich ja nicht miterlebt habe, aber da ich von mir gelesen habe, wo dann ein Ministerpräsident stand und sagte, es dreht sich darum, dass die dänische Minderheit entweder nach Dänemark ziehen soll oder assimiliert werden soll. Es gab wirklich Spannung im Grenzland. Aber als Deutschland NATO-Mitglied werden wollte, 1955, das ging nur, wenn alle anderen NATO-Mitglieder einstimmig Ja sagten. Und die brauchten auch Dänemarks Ja. Und da hat der dänische Staatsminister damals den deutschen Kanzler, das war Adenauer, zur Seite genommen und hat gesagt, pass mal auf, das ist ja schön und gut, aber wenn ihr NATO-Mitglieder sein wollt, dann haben wir ein Problem dort im Grenzland. Wir müssen da was machen. Wir müssen friedliche Verhältnisse auch im Grenzland schaffen. Und das führte eben dazu, dass man dann diese Bonner Erklärung und Kopenhagener Erklärung machte in 1955. Da wurde Deutschland dann auch NATO-Mitglied. Das war deren Eingangsticket. Und dass wir diese Bonner und Kopenhagener Erklärung kriegten. Das sind zwei verschiedene Erklärungen. Die Kopenhagener Erklärung regelt das Verhältnis zwischen der deutschen Minderheit und dem dänischen Staat. Und die Bonner Erklärung regelt das Verhältnis zwischen dem deutschen Staat und der dänischen Minderheit. Die Leute, die damals diese Erklärung gemacht haben, die waren in meinen Augen sehr weise, sehr vorausschauend. Und die haben ganz klar gesagt, wenn wir friedliche Verhältnisse im Grenzland haben sollten, und das war ja der Auftrag, für friedliche Verhältnisse zu sorgen, dann ist es wichtig, dass die Minderheit eine Möglichkeit kriegt der politischen Partizipation. Nur wenn eine Minderheit sich auch politisch partizipieren kann, teilhaben kann, werden wir friedliche Verhältnisse erreichen und daher die Befreiung der 5%-Sperrgrenze. Denn hätten wir diese Befreiung nicht gekriegt, wäre unsere Möglichkeit, uns parlamentarisch zu beteiligen in Schleswig-Holstein oder auch auf Bundesebene sehr, sehr gering oder gleich null. Und deshalb diese Befreiung. Und die Befreiung galt dann auf Landesebene in Schleswig-Holstein. Und in Schleswig-Holstein gilt sie für Parteien der dänischen Minderheit. Und auf Bundesebene gilt diese Befreiung für Parteien von nationalen Minderheiten. Also nicht nur speziell dänisch, könnte auch andere nationale Minderheiten sein. Und es galt, wie gesagt, für die Kommunalwahl galt es nicht. Da haben sie gesagt, kommunal seid ihr genauso stark wie die anderen, da habt ihr dieselbe Chance, da braucht ihr keine Befreiung und deshalb kriegten wir keine für die Kommunalwahlen. Und das war die Voraussetzung. Aber die waren auch weiterhin in einem anderen Punkt sehr vorausschauend, weil die haben auch gesagt, es ist sehr wichtig, dass eine Minderheit sich integrieren kann, ohne assimiliert zu werden. Und das heißt, man muss Minderheiten die Möglichkeit geben, mit ihrer eigenen Sprache, mit ihrer eigenen Tradition, mit ihrer eigenen Kultur, mit ihrer eigenen Identität in ihrer Heimat zu leben. Das ist die Voraussetzung dafür, dass man friedliche und gute Verhältnisse kriegen kann. Und das ist ja da, wo wir erkennen müssen, es hat gewirkt. Es hat gewirkt. Wir haben friedliche Verhältnisse bekommen. Aber ich meine, das verpflichtet auch. Das verpflichtet auch uns, dies ernst zu nehmen. Und das heißt für mich, wenn man uns von der 5%-Sperrgrenze befreit, um gute Verhältnisse zu sorgen, dann müssen wir diese Chance auch nutzen. Und deshalb bin ich immer dafür gewesen, dass wir, wenn man stimmmäßig die Möglichkeit hat, dann auch an der Bundestagswahl teilnimmt. Für mich ist das auch eine historische Verpflichtung, weil das ist eben halt der Weg. Das war das, was ich gestern auch gesagt habe. Gute Minderheitenpolitik ist Friedenspolitik. Und das haben wir ja hier gerade gezeigt. Das verpflichtet uns aber auch, denke ich, diese Geschichte weiterzuerzählen und sagen, wenn ihr gute Verhältnisse haben wollt, wenn ihr Möglichkeit schaffen könnt, mit eurer eigenen Sprache, eurer eigenen Kultur, eure eigene Identität zu leben, dann geht es über diesen Weg der politischen Partizipation, geht über den Weg auch politisch Einfluss zu nehmen, dort, wo man überhaupt kann. Weiß, das war ein bisschen lang, aber...
But before we get further to the background why SSW now go to Berlin, maybe Frank, you can tell us something about the two election systems. How many votes did you need in Netherlands, and how many votes did SSW need here?
Well, that's a bit difficult to explain.
Yeah, yeah. Therefore, you do it.
Well, you see, of course, the differences in the parliament. In the Netherlands, you have a parliament of 150 seats. In Germany, you have a parliament of at least 600 seats, if I'm correct. But it is divided in a way that it also can grow to 738 seats, as you have now, depending on the distribution of votes across the country. Because you get one vote is for each, sorry, one seat. One seat is for every election district, and there are 299. And then you have a lot of other seats to compensate this number. That means that in the end, the number of votes needed for one seat is actually comparable. Although the countries are different in size, and you have a big parliament then, and we have a small one. And because of this threshold, it makes it very interesting to see that you have, well, let's see, you had 47 parties in the last elections nationally, and you got 9 parties elected. In the Netherlands, in March, we had 37 parties, and 17 were elected. And if you want to know, I mean, I made a small overview of the parties elected in the German parliament and in the Dutch parliament. So in the German parliament, you have Labour, the biggest. You have the Christian Democrat Union. You have the Christian Social Union. They form one group together in the parliament. You have the Greens. You have the Liberals. You have the left. And you have SSW. Huh?
Something we don't mention.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Exactly. Maybe there's some reason I forgot. I don't know. In the Dutch parliament, you have the Liberals, the Liberal Conservatives. That's the biggest party with 34 seats. That would be almost the last party in the German parliament, 34, because already the left is 39 seats. Then as second you have the Social Liberals. Third you have the Wilders Party, very right wing. Then you have the Christian Democrats. Then you have the left. Then you have Labour. Then you have the Greens. Then you have also a very right wing, crazy party, Forum for Democracy. Then you have a split off of Forum for Democracy. Then you have the Party of the Animals. You have the Christian Union, which is a bit more strongly Christian than the Christian Democrats. Then you have Volt, that's a pan-European party. You have another right-wing party split off from Forum. You have the very, very Christian party. Then you have the immigrant party DENK. You have the Party of the Elderly. You have the Farmers and Citizens movement. And you have the Bijeen, the anti-racism party. And well, half of these parties have less than 5 seats in the parliament. So that's an interesting thing to see how they are working if you're only one person of SSW in Berlin. So
We have to ask Stefan how we want to work.
Man kann unheimlich viel bewegen, auch wenn man alleine im Parlament sitzt. Das wissen wir als SSW, weil es hat früher Zeiten gegeben, wo wir nur einen Vertreter vom SSW im Landtag in Schleswig-Holstein hatten. Und ich bin noch gerade darauf aufmerksam gemacht worden, dass ich na klar auch erwähnen soll und nicht vergessen soll, dass SSW nicht nur Partei der dänischen Minderheit ist, sondern auch Partei der nationalen Friesen ist. Dass ich das in Verbindung mit den Bonner und Kopenhagener Erklärungen nicht erwähnt habe, ist es, weil das waren Erklärungen, die in Bezug auf der dänischen Minderheit war und nicht in Bezug auf der friesischen Minderheit. Aber SSW ist Partei für beide nationalen Minderheiten. Aber man kann auch als Einmannfraktion unheimlich viel erreichen, weil wir sind in der Lage, etwas auf der Tagesordnung zu setzen. Und schon jetzt können wir sehen, dass auch Stefan Seidler in Berlin und allein die Teilnahme vom SSW an der Bundestagswahl schon vieles bewirkt hat. Weil wir können schon sehen, dass Themen, die nur wir im Wahlprogramm hatten, die anderen Parteien nicht hatten, wenn ich EEG-Gesetz nehme, haben die anderen jetzt plötzlich alle aufgegriffen, weil sie merken können, das, was der SSW dort macht, ist unheimlich vernünftig, zum einen, und die haben plötzlich Angst, dass wir dastehen, und das ist unser Alleinstellungsmerkmal, und da wollen sie auch gerne sagen, hey, so, und wir können jetzt schon sehen, wir können vieles bewirken. Und das ist halt eben so, das muss man wissen, wenn man Minderheitenpartei ist. Wir haben keine eigene Mehrheit, das haben wir nicht in Kiel, haben wir auch nicht in Berlin. Wir müssen immer bewirken, dass andere mitmachen, dass wir andere überzeugen können. Und das können wir. Wenn wir sehen in Schleswig-Holstein wichtige Gesetze in Schleswig-Holstein, wenn ich damals das Informationsfreiheitsgesetz nehme oder das Tariftreuegesetz, das sind Gesetze, die SSW auf der Tagesordnung gesetzt hat, als Minderheitenpartei ohne Mehrheit, aber wir haben Leute überzeugt, dass es geht, und es wurde durchgesetzt. Also auch mit einer Person in Berlin kannst du unheimlich viel bewirken, und vor allem, und das ist für mich sehr, sehr wichtig, gerade in Minderheitenfragen, weil das ist ein Alleinstellungsmerkmal. Vorher war das so, dass die meisten Bundestagsabgeordneten gar nicht wussten, dass wir existieren, dass es Minderheiten gibt. So, jetzt weiß das jeder. Warum sitzt er da? Befreit von der 5% Sperrgrenze, weil es eben Minderheiten ist und weil Minderheiten Rechte haben. Und dass wir diese Rechte der Minderheiten auch hier in Berlin berücksichtigen müssen, das wird jetzt jedem klar. Und alleine aus dem Grunde finde ich, das ist so wichtig, dass wir so einen Platz in Berlin haben.
Fleming, we also have to inform people how many voters did we need to get to Berlin, to get one member.
Ja, es ist immer eine sehr unsichere Sache, weil das hängt ja mit ganz vielen verschiedenen Faktoren zusammen in Deutschland. Das hängt damit zusammen, wie hoch ist die Wahlbeteiligung, und dann hängt es damit zusammen, wie Überhangsmandate verteilt werden. Wenn in Bayern Überhangsmandate anfallen, dann wird es verteilt, dann kann es auch in Schleswig-Holstein zu Überhangsmandate führen. Es ist sehr, sehr kompliziert. Aber wir sind davon ausgegangen, um relativ sicher zu sein, dass wir gut 40.000 Stimmen brauchen bei dieser Wahl. Vielleicht hätten 35.000 gereicht, andere sagten 50.000, aber nach unseren eigenen internen Berechnungen oder sowas haben wir gedacht, mit 40.000 sind wir an der sicheren Grenze. Jetzt haben wir über 55.000 Stimmen erreicht. Das ist ein sehr, sehr gutes Ergebnis. Und wir haben ein sehr sicheres Mandat, das heißt, wir haben keins von den Überhangsmandaten. Auch wenn es keine Überhangsmandate gegeben hätte, wären wir trotzdem nach Berlin gekommen. Also das ist schon ein gutes Ergebnis. Aber es ist abhängig von verschiedenen Faktoren. Und das ist gerade dies mit den Überhangsmandaten, das ist immer so eine tricky Sache.
Very difficult. Also 40 to 50,000 voters did SSW need for one member in Bundestag. And how is it for FNP? If you want to go to Den Haag? How many voters
It
do
would
you
be
need?
it would be a little bit more, I think. Exactly 70,000 about
7,000
yeah.
for one.
for one member of parliament.
Yeah. But Fleming, maybe you also can say how a little bit about the background from why did SSW again want to go to Berlin and yeah.
Ja. Zeitenwechsel. Ich habe schon immer gerne gewünscht, dass wir wieder nach Berlin gehen, weil man hat eigentlich 1961, das war das letzte Mal, dass wir versucht hatten und es nicht geschafft hat, da hat die Partei beschlossen, wir werden es nicht wieder versuchen, solange wir keine Chance haben. Weil das ist na klar arbeitsintensiv zu kandidieren, es kostet Geld, es kostet Kräfte und solange wir keine Chance haben, dann kandidieren wir nicht mehr. Wir haben aber gemerkt, wenn wir die Stimmen sehen, bis 1971, da sind wir stimmmäßig immer weiter runtergegangen und runtergegangen und runtergegangen. 1971 hatten wir zur Landtagswahl unser schlechtestes Ergebnis mit knapp über 19.000 Stimmen und unser eines Mandat war sehr in der Gefahrenzone. Aber seit 1971 sind wir kontinuierlich wieder gestiegen. Und wir haben schon gemerkt, Ende der 80er, Anfang der 90er, dass wir sehr hohe Zahlen kriegten. Und dann haben wir irgendwann mal gesagt, lass uns das mal umrechnen. Wenn wir diese Zahlen, die wir zu Landtagswahlen erreichen, auf Bundestagswahlen umrechnen würden, würde das für ein Mandat reichen? Und da haben wir gesehen, ja, das würde reichen. Wir hätten also dann eine Chance, auch eine Bundestagswahl zu gewinnen. Und deshalb haben wir gesagt, okay, das Nein 61 war ja nur, solange wir keine Chance haben. Jetzt haben wir gesehen, wir haben wieder eine Chance. Und da habe ich dann gemeint, und andere auch, lass uns die greifen. Aber in der Partei war dafür keine Mehrheit. Wir sind dreimal damit gescheitert. Und dann hat man 2009 gesagt, jetzt wollen wir das nicht mehr diskutieren, weil man hatte Angst, es würde vielleicht die Partei spalten. Haben wir gesagt, jetzt werden wir es nicht mehr diskutieren, automatisch bei jeder Bundestagswahl. Aber, wieder mit der Ausnahme, wenn es der Landesvorstand wünscht oder 2 Kreisvorstände wünschen, dann werden wir die Diskussion wieder aufnehmen. So, und 2019, da war es wirklich so weit, weil die Zeiten haben sich geändert. Die Zeiten haben sich wirklich geändert, die Medien sind schneller geworden, alles ist schneller geworden und wir können merken, wenn wir als Partei bei solchen Wahlen nicht stattfinden, nicht medial stattfinden, dann laufen uns ein Teil der Wähler weg. Dann laufen uns die jungen Wähler weg. Wir haben also erlebt, dass Leute gesagt haben, naja, wenn SSW nicht kandidiert, das war jetzt auch zur Wahl des EU-Parlaments dort, wenn der SSW nicht kandidiert, dann können wir ja andere Parteien empfehlen. Und das ist eine ganz, ganz gefährliche Sache für eine Partei. Kann ich die wieder zurückgehen? Und wir haben jetzt gemerkt, jetzt hier, als wir dann beschlossen haben, zur Bundestagswahl wieder zu kandidieren, dass ein Teil junge Leute, die schon bei anderen Parteien waren, die bei den Grünen waren, zu uns zurückgekommen sind und jetzt bei uns unheimlich aktiv sind. Von daher denke ich, das ist der absolut richtige Schritt. Wenn man die Möglichkeit hat, dass man die dann wieder ergreift und gerade in dieser Zeit. Das nächste ist, wir können sehen, auch in Deutschland ist das Parteienspektrum anders geworden. Wir kriegen mehr und mehr kleinere Parteien, aber leider sehr viele Parteien auch auf dem rechten Flügel und der rechte Flügel wird stärker und die großen Volksparteien, mit denen wir immer dann auch in Berlin haben verhandeln müssen, wenn da was war, deren Einfluss wird geringer. Und gerade in dieser Situation, gerade wo der rechte Flügel stärker wird, ist es unheimlich wichtig, dass wir dann als Minderheit selber in Berlin präsent sein können. Und das waren all solche Überlegungen, die dazu führten, dass wir dann eine Mehrheit kriegten dort in der Partei.
Wir haben jetzt einen Kommentar von Lars Harms. Oder eine Frage?
Ja, ik wil je niet een commentaar doen, als ik wil toch wat zeggen wat vielleicht ook voor de Weesfrasche ganz wichtig is. Namelijk, I have to do it in English? Und ich ging das auch auf Friesk. Ich versecke diensten auf Friesk. Wenn ich es sehen, wer ja mich verstanden kann. Ich lief noch. Also, in Schleswig-Holstein können wir kieset worden. Aus Ei, wir können nicht kieset worden. In Nordrhein-Westfalen, Niedersachsen, Berlin, Bayern und all die anderen Bundesländer, was das gibt. So, das hat wir ganz begrenzt mal uns 55.000 Stimmen, was wir füngen haben. Ich lief bei jam, als zu jam Kone in der hele Niederlande kieset worden. En der wellig bloot sede, we hebben manning Menschen het. Wat us unteelt hebben, wat meelschakt hebben, wat unteelt hebben en zet hebben. We zaten bitte voor Schleswig-Holstein. We zijn in Bayern, in Baden-Württemberg, in Niedersachsen. Als wann wir jam kiezen können, dann heen wir den. En dat is zo wichtig voor jam. Het heeft ook in oudere provincie manche wat bloot der auf TV jam te kiezen. En dat is ganz, ganz wichtig, lieb ik. Dat is dat verschil te us her. We kunnen bloos us zelf hier in Schleswig-Holstein kiezen. Jam hebben hele Nederlanden. En daar heeft het manning manche wat lust hebben FNP te kiezen.
Thank you, Lars. Yeah, SSW is only in Schleswig-Holstein you can vote SSW. There's a difference to the FNP.
Yeah. It's a difference, but not as absolute as you say, because we have 20 election districts, and you have to make a list for each of these districts if you want to stand for election. But it is not a very difficult hurdle to pass. You can do it. I mean, you need some FNP sympathizers in these regions, and then you would be there.
Yeah, just would like to supply with a question, Frank. If you said up to 70,000 voters to get a seat, how many voters did you get the last election in the province?
Oh, I have to look in my notes.
You have to know it.
Sorry, I don't. Oh, Siebe.
We had around 23,000 voters, but there is something different because we have two elections at the same time. We have the regional elections and something with water. And when it comes to the regional elections, we had 23,000 people, but the same people who voted, the 23,000, voted when it comes about the water thing, about 39,000 voters. So almost double. And that's an interesting thing. And I don't want to say too much because we have another panel afterwards, and I discuss now what I'm going to say over there, I think. But that's a big difference, and we have to search out how that's possible. And what you say is true. People in all the Netherlands can vote on the FNP. Frisians are living everywhere, and I think Friesland is also a strong identity with an own culture. Is recognizable. And you have the countryside in the east of the Netherlands have the same issues, have the same troubles, the same beauty, I think. So, yeah, I think there is a big chance to go for it, but yeah, we shall see and we discuss it today. So that's the long version of your answer.
But back to SSW, Fleming, there were a lot of members who didn't like it.
Yes.
Well, a lot of members who was against SSW should go to Berlin. And how do you manage to convince them? And what did the SSW use? Which role plays there in this?
At last, when we have ja, ich wollte ja, ich mache es auf Deutsch.
So good as I am.
Als wir die entscheidende Sondersitzung Landesparteitag hatten und die Entscheidung treffen sollten, war gut 60% dafür und 40% dagegen. So, und das ist na klar eine Mehrheit und eine deutliche Mehrheit, aber das ist ja keine überzeugende Mehrheit. Ich habe schon damals gesagt, es geht jetzt auch darum, die letzten 40% möglichst mitzunehmen. Wir müssen aber dann mal gucken, was waren die Ängste. Wir haben 4 Konferenzen vorher durchgeführt, wo wir mit den Leuten diskutiert haben, und wirklich gründlich. Wir haben ja 2 Jahre das gründlich vorbereitet, durchdiskutiert und. Und da haben wir gesehen, was waren denn die Argumente, warum war man dagegen? Weil man hatte Angst, einige hatten Angst davor, dass es ganz einfach ein zu großer Mund voll war, dass wir es nicht schaffen könnten und dass wir das Wahlergebnis nicht erreichen könnten. Dass wir unsere Leute nicht motivieren konnten. Das war eine Angst. Eine andere Angst, die kam, die war auch, wir erreichen und die Jugend nicht. Wo ist die Jugend denn? Die haben doch keine Lust, die machen das sowieso nicht, die möchten gar keine Parteiarbeit machen und sowas wie so. Und das waren solche Ängste. Und es hat sich ja gezeigt, genau all diese Ängste, die sie hatten, die waren nachher nicht real. Also wir haben die Jugend. Ich habe noch nie erlebt, eine so engagierte Jugend in der Partei wie in dieser Kampagne. Also die haben sich eingebracht. Die waren mit im Programmentwicklung, haben da positiv teilgenommen. Und die zu erleben beim Landesparteitag, also ich bin ja nur mein Leben lang zu Landesparteitagen, seit 1980 bin ich bei jedem Landesparteitag dabei gewesen und ich habe noch nie eine so engagierte Jugend erlebt wie hier. Und das nächste war dann die Angst, ja, wer soll denn Kandidat sein? Wer will denn Kandidat sein? Ihr könnt doch keine Kandidaten finden. Aber ich sage euch, als der Beschluss gefasst war, waren gleich 3, die sich meldeten und die wollten gerne Spitzenkandidat sein. Und wir hatten nachher wirklich eine tolle Liste. Wir hatten gute Kandidaten. Und wir hatten Kandidaten, das hat sich nachher in den Debatten ja auch gezeigt, die könnten sich mit jedem anderen Bundestagskandidaten der anderen Parteien messen, ohne weiteres. Wir brauchen uns nicht verstecken. Wir sind gut, wir können was. Und das hat sich dort wirklich gezeigt. Und das heißt, all die Argumente, die dort waren, die sind teilweise nachher widerlegt worden. Wir haben die Jugend mitgekriegt, wir haben gute Kandidaten gekriegt. Es waren auch andere Ängste, das war das Finanzielle. Wie soll das finanziert werden? So ein Wahlkampf ist teuer. Und auch da haben wir ja schon ausgerechnet, wenn es gelingen würde, und wir kriegen ja eine Parteienfinanzierung, also Rückfinanzierung pro Stimme in Deutschland bei der Bundestagswahl, dann könnte man das hinkriegen. Und auch diese Rechnung ist aufgegangen. Wir haben in den Wahlkampf gut 200.000 Euro geplant, aber zurück kriegen wir, meine ich, über 4 Jahre 220.000. Also wenn man so will, wäre ein kleiner Teil über. Aber es ist also finanziell kein Fiasko gewesen. Und ich glaube, viele von denen, die damals wirklich dagegen waren, haben nachher gesagt, ja, okay, das Ergebnis überzeugt, es war schon ein richtiger Schritt. Und ich werde umgekehrt immer fragen, was wäre mit unserer Partei, wenn wir das nicht gemacht hätten? Wo stünden wir denn jetzt da? Wenn man wieder bei so einer Wahl nicht sichtbar gewesen wäre, wenn man uns nicht gesehen hätte. Jetzt sind wir sichtbar geworden. Wir sind in Deutschland in sämtlichen Medien gewesen. Wir sind in Dänemark in den Medien gewesen und selbst in einer japanischen Zeitung sind wir jetzt drin. Das nützt uns stimmenmäßig nicht viel. Aber das
Die da eine Westfriesische Zeitung
ja,
und Fernsehen.
das zeigt aber nur, dass es also unheimlich gewirkt hat. Das war der richtige Schritt. Aber klar, man muss Überzeugungsarbeit leisten. Und ich glaube, von den 40%, die dagegen waren, haben wir die meisten dann auch durch das Ergebnis überzeugen können. Da wird es immer einen kleinen Rest geben. So what? So ist es in der Demokratie. Das ist auch schön.
Frank, how is it in the Netherlands? How is it in Friesland? How much money did you need for a campaign to go to Den Haag? Where did you get the money from?
Whoa.
Is it like in Germany, you get for one vote,
No.
€1 over 4 years?
No, it's not like that. If you are a party in the Dutch parliament, first or second chamber, you get a number of pieces of money. So a fixed amount plus so and so much for each seat you have.
Yeah, but
And-
that's for the parliament work.
Exactly,
get-
but there's also money that you can use later than for a campaign.
Okay,
But
it's allowed because in Germany it's not allowed. In Germany you have the party money, and you have the money for the parliament, and you don't mix it. You don't must. But in Netherlands you can do it.
I believe so. I'm not an expert, but yes.
I would like to because our parliament group have
But
much money.
the problem is that if you're not in there, you don't have the money.
No, that's not.
So you have to get in there, and after 4 years,
Yeah.
maybe you have collected enough money, put it aside to do the election. Now we have one advantage in that sense, and that's because we are sharing one seat with other parties in the first chamber, in the Senate. So we have a bit of income from that.
And for your voters in the province of Friesland, you didn't get money. You only
Not-
get
not
money for the parliament group, but not.
Not for the no, not for campaigning and so.
It's already.
I think you have to.
It was already in the newspapers in the last elections in 2019, so it's not a secret anymore. We had about 100,000 euros spent. So that was at a regional campaign that we had to spend, and I think maybe in 2023 it's almost similar, Wouter. I think. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we can spend at a regular base. But when you go to the national elections, you have to find some other money, some funding also. We don't know what's going on when you make the ambition, when you spread the word out, what comes to you. I heard Fleming saying a lot of people were coming. Maybe we have the same effect, we don't know. And that's the thing that we want to investigate.
Yeah. Okay.
Also ich glaube, ein ganz wichtiger Aspekt, den wir in der Partei gehabt haben, um die Leute zu überzeugen seinerzeit, dass wir das Programm angehen wollen, das war auch dieser demokratische Prozess, den wir angegangen sind. Wir sind an die Leute herangetreten, wir haben das Wahlprogramm zusammen erörtert, wir haben Arbeitsgruppen gebildet, wir haben die Leute mit einbezogen. Die ganze Diskussion, jeder hatte die Möglichkeit, Ideen einzubringen. Und das ist natürlich eine ganz positive Geschichte, um Leute auch zu überzeugen, dass diese Schritte richtig sind, damit auch diese Ängste, von denen Fleming gesprochen hat, einfach mal genommen werden. Dass gesagt wird, komm, geht mit ran, entscheidet euch für euer Kerngebiet, arbeitet zusammen, und das hat einen unheimlichen Hype in der ganzen Partei gebracht, dass die Leute einfach die Möglichkeit hatten, sich selber einzubringen in die ganze Geschichte.
Yeah, I'd also told Frank yesterday, and Fleming also said it, we have a 2 years process where we was discussion if we go to Bundestag or not. And like Keno said, and it was very good discussions and several regional conference with our members, and that was a good thing for also for the campaign scene. Yeah, Frank, do you have more from Nederland? Also hast du mehr hier von Rahmenbedingungen, die interessant wären? Falls ihr aufstellen wolltet. Because how we make the campaign, we discuss later.
Yep.
But in this panel, we would like to inform you about how are the structure, the political structure in both countries, and how was the background. So
I
everything
think
is told. Fleming, do you
well,
have any more? Can you say something about? Lars?
Frage heb ik nog, nämlich, Schibbe hat ja just even verteld, dass es 20 Regionen gibt, wer jam Kandidaten abstalle schon. Schanda manche, was jam abstalle der Boge, und also sollen die dort wohnen? Oder ist es auch möglich, mit Leuten aus Friesland in Drenthe, in Den Haag und sonst wo kandidieren zu können?
They should live in these 20 districts.
Okay.
It's quite interesting. There are a number of people you need in each district. There's one district, number 20, which is in the Caribbean islands, and there you need half of the number. But we already made some.
Every vote counts.
We have a.
Wanneer is de volgende verkiezing? En welke turnus? Is het voor 4 jaar? Of?
It's every 4 years. Well, that's theory.
Normal.
Because it might be that the government that is currently composed at the moment might not make it the 4 years. But, well, we'll see. Normally it would be 2025 again.
Normally. Got, one more question to Fleming. As Lars said, the voters could only vote on SSW in Schleswig-Holstein. What about candidates, Fleming? Where come our candidates from? Wo haben wir Kandidaten aufgestellt?
Yes, the direct candidates, die Direktkandidaten haben wir nur aufgestellt in den südlichen Teil, in Schleswig-Holstein, also in Schleswig. Ja, nicht südlich, in den nördlichen Teil, ja, in den nördlichen Teil und dann auf Helgoland, das ist ein Pinneberg und Kiel gehört ja zum Teil nur, aber auch in Kiel haben wir aufgestellt. Aber das sind die Stellen, wo wir Direktkandidaten aufgestellt haben. Wählbar in ganz Schleswig-Holstein, aber mit der Erststimme dann nur dort, wo wir die Direktkandidaten aufgestellt haben. Und das waren 7.
Also Direktkandidaten waren 5 und 14 hatten wir insgesamt.
Ja, 14 hatten wir, aber Direktkandidaten die 5. Das heißt, in 5 Wahlkreisen waren wir wählbar, also auch mit der ersten Stimme.
So that means that the person had...
Ja, es ist so, dass du Erststimme, das bestimmt, wer direkt gewählt wird in diesen Wahlkreis. Und die Zweitstimmen, die sind entscheidend dafür, wie viele Plätze du nachher im Parlament bekommst. Das ist auch der Grund dafür, warum man ab und zu Überhangsmandate haben, weil es gibt Parteien, die haben so viele Direktmandate gewonnen, dass es mehr ist, als die eigentlich mit der Zweitstimme beanspruchen. Aber direkt gewonnen ist gewonnen, also haben sie ein bisschen mehr und das, was die mehr haben, muss man dann auch andere Parteien dann, nicht, dass sie alle gleich so viel, aber es muss ein Ausgleich sein zwischen den anderen Parteien, damit das,
the percentage is still correct.
Ja, dass es wiedergegeben wird im Parlament, was der Wähler gewollt hat. Und deshalb gibt es dann diese Ausgleichsmandate ab und zu. Das ist ein sehr kompliziertes System. Und das wird, na klar, wenn es Bundestagswahl ist, noch komplizierter, weil wenn in ein Bundesland es Überhangsmandate gibt, dann muss das dann nicht nur im Land ausgeglichen werden, sondern ja auch auf Bundesebene. Und deshalb kann Schleswig-Holstein auch davon profitieren, wenn Bayern viele Überhangsmandate kriegt. Das macht es also ein bisschen komplizierter alles. Aber für uns war das sehr wichtig, dass wir viele Zweitstimmen kriegten, weil das war entscheidend, ob wir reinkommen konnten. Und deshalb hatten wir dezidiert eine Zweitstimmenkampagne gemacht, wo wir die Menschen aufgefordert haben, gebt uns eure Zweitstimme, weil das ist die Zweitstimme, die wir brauchen. Unsere Chancen, direkt gewählt zu werden, die waren, ich würde sagen, gleich 0. Trotzdem haben wir unheimlich viele Erststimmen auch gekriegt. Also unsere Kandidatinnen und Kandidaten, Sibylla hat sehr viele Erststimmen auch gekriegt. Und das ist eine ganz klare Anerkennung der persönlichen Arbeit. Das ist eine Anerkennung nicht der Partei, sondern eine Anerkennung auch unserer Kandidaten. Und das können Sie sehen, dass die Bevölkerung sowohl unsere Politik als Partei gewürdigt hat, aber auch unsere Kandidaten. Und das finde ich ist etwas, was sehr beachtlich ist.
Fleming, can you tell... Okay, Lars?
Kon ich mir wieder einfach knippen aus. Ich schalte doch noch was, das ist nämlich wichtig, auch für Jan bei wohl. Ich mach's mal auf Deutsch. Der SSW hat mehrfach es gehabt, dass gegen uns auch geklagt wurde. Also dass gesagt wurde, die sollen da nicht im Parlament sein. Eine der Hauptargumentationen war immer, dass es hieß, ihr könnt gerne oben im Norden, da wo ihr herkommt, kandidieren, aber ihr bekommt ja auch im Süden Stimmen, von Schleswig-Holstein in dem Fall. Das sind ja eigentlich alles Deutsche, das ist ja alles gar nicht Minderheit, warum habt ihr eine 5% Befreiung? Das war so die Kurzfassung des Ganzen. Wir haben bisher immer vor Gericht gewonnen, das werden wir auch weiter tun. Aber das ist ein Grund dafür, warum wir sagen, bei den Direktkandidaten treten wir nur im Norden an, in unseren traditionellen Gebieten, dort wo wir herkommen, aber im gesamten Wahlgebiet sind wir wählbar. Bei euch würde das umgekehrt bedeuten, ne, dass möglicherweise Menschen irgendwann sagen, in der Karibik gibt es gar keine Friesen. Es gibt gar keine Friesen in Den Haag. Und darauf müsst ihr vorbereitet sein. Natürlich gibt es sie da. Logisch. Ne? Die gibt es in den gesamten Niederlanden. Aber ihr müsst darauf vorbereitet sein, dass es durchaus auch radikale Menschen gibt, die das auch instrumentalisieren und auch eine Kampagne gegen euch fahren könnten, in der Öffentlichkeit gegen euch auftreten, wenn ihr im Süden der Niederlande irgendwo in Limburg irgendwo antretet mit eigenen Kandidaten, dann wird man das gegen euch verwenden. Die Erfahrung haben wir gemacht.
I don't think so, because we are competing with the same rules as every ordinary Dutch party. So it's not like we are in the minority position there as a party. So we can, if we have people everywhere, they can also vote for us. We are not a minority with an exemption or a special. Well, I would not say that this is a privilege, but
Nein, aber diese
the other one
Befreiung
would,
habt ihr nicht.
no, we are just competing by the same rules. Well,
It's more psychological. Also es ist mehr die psychologische Geschichte, die da eine Rolle spielt. Natürlich kann man gegen euch nicht klagen, aber der Gegenwind, der mediale Gegenwind, der kann schnell entstehen, wenn es heißt, guck mal, die treten irgendwo an, wo sie eigentlich gar nicht hingehören. Das ist einfach, ihr sollt nur darauf vorbereitet sein. Natürlich wird man euch das Wahlrecht nicht nehmen können, aber in der öffentlichen Meinung kann es durchaus kommen, dass, sage ich jetzt mal, ein national niederländischer Mensch sagt, was will denn Friese hier? Und warum nehmen die sich das Recht heraus, da oben aus dem Norden, hier im Süden Menschen antreten zu lassen, die möglicherweise irgendwie sogar noch ein Mandat bekommen? Wo kommen wir denn da hin? Genau das haben wir erlebt. Also nicht nur die Klage, sondern auch diese Argumentation. Übrigens auch von anderen Parteien. Und glaubt man nicht, gerade die Jugendorganisationen der jeweiligen Parteien sind die besonders schlimm. Es sind nicht die
I
alten.
understand that one, but someone on that list, they need the recommendation from someone who is from that area, but you can put up candidates all from Friesland, no problem. So
Okay, we see.
But-
But
anyway,
you think about if you join the national election. I think I look at my clock. I think it was a good discussion, and I think we stopped here. We have the next program. Thank you to Flemming Meyer and Frank de Boer. Give them a hand. So let's go. And wir kommen jetzt zur nächsten Podiumsdiskussion, wo unser Bundestagsabgeordneter Stefan Seidler hoffentlich zugeschaltet wird aus Kopenhagen. Gehört haben wir ihn schon. Und wir wollen er soll erzählen, welche Kernforderungen die Regional- und Minderheitenparteien eingebracht haben. Also welche Kernforderungen hat der SSW eingebracht. Und Siebje Knoll von der FNP. Entschuldigung, die Aussprache. Siebje wird erzählen, welche Forderungen die FNP hat. So now we have a panel where we want to hear from Stefan Seidler, who hopefully is joining us from Copenhagen, to tell us something about the central political claims from SSW in the election campaign. And Siebje Knoll is telling us something about the claims from the FNP. So Stefan, can you hear us? Not here. You can see Stefan. Stefan, can you hear us? You can't hear me.
Thing, and I can see
but we can hear you.
yeah, I can see in my screen that your connection is very bad. So maybe Philip can help somehow.
Okay. Philipp Akavi? Stefan, ich würde vorschlagen, du fängst mal an. Kann man ihn hören?
Now I can hear someone talking, but very bad.
Okay, Stefan, just try to start.
Yeah, now it worked. But I hope you can hear me and you can see me. I can't see anybody, but I'm
But we see you.
happy to know that you are all gathered together to this meeting, and I'm very sorry that I can't be at your place on myself, but I'm on my way to Copenhagen. As you actually might see, I'm sitting in a car and having a good chauffeur who's driving me to Copenhagen just now. And I've already heard that you have a good meeting together with our colleagues from SSV. So welcome, and once again, sorry for that I'm not personally can be at your place today. But on the other hand, I will invite you next time when you're in Berlin, probably. Please give some information before, and then you're very welcome in Berlin. And maybe I can give you all a little tour through the parliament, and also I would appreciate if we could have a talk as well. But just once again, I can't hear anything, but I would be very pleased if Philip, with some small messages on WhatsApp, could send me a thumb up, so I know that I'm going through and everything is right, because then I can see this on my cell phone here. It is my pleasure to tell you something about our core topics and main topics in our election campaign. I will do that and just go right ahead. We had three main topics or core topics in our election campaign, which we concentrated on. And as you can see on the results of our election, it worked very well. And those three main topics, core topics, were also picked up strategically for our campaign. And I will also combine some sentences and some our thoughts we had about this, why they were important in our strategics. The first core topic, the first main topic which we had, was of course to highlight the minority rights, the rights of minorities in our election campaign. And that was very important for us, because we are a minority party and we're working for minorities. And this is part of our DNA. And the one thing which was positive about that was that we are the only party in Germany who has this area, who has this topic. So it was a kind of a unique selling point which we had, highlighting the minority rights. And the points which we were going with in the election campaign was that we needed to get the minority rights in our constitution, in the German constitution, that we need to get more financial subventions to the Frisian minority or to the Frisian group, because they don't have the foundation from the German state. And then we also cooperated a lot with the other minorities, the two other minorities in Germany, the Sinti and Roma and the Sorbian minority, and of course also tell everybody that we were working for those minorities in Berlin as well. And talking so much about minorities also had the spin-off that the people, the voters, of course, understood that we also work for minorities in general. So also in these times where we have a lot of discussions and a lot of politics and a lot of good signals about probably the LGBT plus minorities, people also associated our party with rights for those minorities. And the reason why we were talking about so much minorities, not just because that's our main DNA, but it was also to claim our own area very clear from the start, because we had some candidates running for other parties who also were part of our minority, who were part of the Danish minority, but they were running for other parties. And therefore, it was very important for us right from the start to tell everybody minority rights and minority politics, this is our area, and we are the only one who are the real McCoy, so to say. And therefore, it was very important for us to claim this area so that we don't get any competition from those who were running for other parties who also came from the minority. The other thing, which also was very important for us to claim the minority rights from the start, was that we already were preparing for battle, so to say, because actually we still wait for that other parties maybe will intervene, that we were elected to the German parliament, because they say, oh, are they still, maybe they are asking, we have had that before, are they still a minority party? Are they still the party of the Danish minority and the Frisians? And of course we are that. And we had a lot of legal processes in earlier elections about that. But when we already now in our election claim this area very clearly for us and say we are the party of the Danish minority and the Frisians, and we want to you could hear that, yeah. That's good to hear. Now I can hear you. There was an old man who was going over to our side, so that. No, what I was saying was that we were preparing for battle, so that if anybody wants to invent, probably now, in asking if we still are party of the Danish minority, and on this way try to get us out of the parliament again, when we can say, well, our campaign was directly pointed to minorities, so there's no question about that we still are the party of the Danish minority and the Frisians, and of course we are. The other main topic, the other issue which we had in our campaign was our slogan, doing it the Nordish way, the Scandinavian way. And the strategic thing about that was, of course, to get some future themes into the election campaign. And we also knew, or still know, that a lot of NGOs, but also political parties, are looking to Scandinavia just now when we are talking about solutions for big problems in our society. And what was special about that was that our small party actually won the debate of the election, also because we were talking so much about digitalization, and we were pointing to Denmark as a very good example to digitalization. And in Germany, we're also talking about and discussing to reform our social system. And we knew that a lot of parties are looking to Scandinavia, and especially to Denmark, when we are talking about reforming the social system, and they have Denmark, so to say, as a good example how to do that. And doing that, having focus on these themes from the SSV, it gives us some kind of trustworthiness. Everybody trusted in us. And on the other hand, it also showed that we have know-how about areas which is deeply in our politics. And that also got us some kind of professionalism, because of course, we are a little party, but we have some very specific know-hows how it works in Scandinavia and in Denmark. And that was very good in the campaign as well. And we saw later on in the election campaign that even when the big discussions on the TV were between the three candidates of who were running for chancellor in Germany, I know one discussion, one TV debate, where they mentioned Denmark 4 times in their arguments. And that was very good, because then we had a good link to our politics, and everybody knew when somebody is talking about good examples from Denmark and Scandinavia. The original one, the real McCoy again, is the SSV, because we are the ones who have those connections to Denmark. And if we get into the topics which we were talking about, where Scandinavia is doing good and Denmark is doing good, then it was especially digitalization. It was the low bureaucracy, which is very high in Germany, but everybody is talking about to make it easier, make it quicker at our bureaucrats, and the Danes were a good example for how you do so. Denmark and Scandinavia is also very well known for modern ecological and green agenda. So we also on this had the green agenda in our campaign, so to say. Of course, Denmark right now also has some political areas which we don't, which we are not very big fans of. That might be the migration and integration politics. That might also be the border control in our area, which Denmark still is doing. And there we were very quick also in the start to make a distance from those political issues and from those political themes, which we are not so fond of in Danish politics. So of course it was also a kind of tricky, because we also had to say very clear which areas in Danish politics or in Scandinavian politics we are not fans of right now. The last topic from our three main topics, again, the first one, minority rights, the second one, do the Scandinavian way, and the last one was strengthen our north. And actually, I think this was where we were sending most signals, making most statements in our election campaign. And this was not so much about coming with political solutions. I don't hope there's any press around you, so because I'm just talking right away now. But that was not so much about making or coming with big political solutions, but that this was about pointing where we have big problems in Schleswig-Holstein and where we have lacks of development in Schleswig-Holstein. And we were coming with some very simple examples which everyone could understand. For instance, that our development in the infrastructure is very bad in Schleswig-Holstein. And I was always repeating the same example, that Bavaria has 325 projects, 325 projects in the German traffic plan for 2030, while Schleswig-Holstein only has 22 traffic projects in this big plan for 2030. The other thing which we were repeating again and again and again were that we in Schleswig-Holstein are paying the highest price for energy. And the reason for that is that we in Schleswig-Holstein actually started the change in energy and produce green energy from our windmills. And we make big investments in new grids, in new technologies. And that's the reason why the people of Schleswig-Holstein, they paid the highest and still pay the highest price in energy, but we sell it cheap to the other German states. And there we say we need a kind of regulation, so in all Germany, all over Germany, so that the price is the same all over. The other thing which we were repeating again and again and again were that we get the lowest subventions for our hospital beds compared with the other German states. For instance, North Rhine-Westphalia, another German state, gets 16 euros more per hospital bed in subvention from the German federal state. And these were just 3 examples. Probably Martin or Per can mention some more. I have repeated them again and again and again, and I still do that. But the thing which was very professional there was, at some point, we actually saw that the media itself told the stories. They didn't refer to the SSV, they didn't refer to our party, but we saw in our local newspapers, for instance, that there was a whole site analyzing how is the situation about the traffic and the infrastructure in Schleswig-Holstein, and are we actually having a worse situation than they have in Bavaria. And they also did the same, talking about the energy prices and the energy in Schleswig-Holstein, and compared us to other German länder. And this was so professional because we were doing some kind of framing and active agenda setting in our campaign. And so everybody knew that our story was true. And that made it much more easier for us afterwards to come with the political solutions and the solutions for in those areas. This was the way how we did our campaign, and this was why we picked up those 3 main topics: the minority rights, to claim our issue, and to tell everybody we're still a minority party. We have to do this all the time, so that we talked, or we had the other issue, which was do the Nordic way. And doing this, we looked into the future and had a little more overview and looking over the borders more compared to other parties in Germany. And we also claimed our Nordic roots. Probably you have seen or will see our campaign, where we were showing the Vikings and so on. So we were claiming this area, and at least the very important thing was that we were telling again and again that we have to strengthen the North. I can hear somebody talking just in my ear, so that's the reason why I'm not talking so fluently just now. But strengthen the North, Nordish, do it the Nordish way, minority rights. These were the 3 main topics, and they were not just picked up because it was our politics. Of course, there also were some strategic thoughts behind that. So looking at the time, my 20 minutes are gone now. Martin, I can't hear you, but
kan du høre mig, Stefan?
Ja, nu kan jeg høre dig. Ja. So,
thank you, Stefan. Now, I hope you can listen to the discussion now.
Yeah,
maybe there come maybe some question, but now we want to hear. Thank you for this, and now we want to hear Sibyl from the FNP.
I have a question for
Yes,
Stefan.
you have a question.
I don't
Sibyl
know
have a question.
for how long he's going to be here. The first time you came into the Bundestag, what were
Kan du høre ham?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
The first time you came in Berlin in the Bundestag, what were the reactions of the other parties? What was their attitude to the SSW?
Yeah. Actually, they were very, very positive and very open and warm. And they came all to me with one, beside one, the AfD right-wing party. But everybody wanted to talk with us and with me, and they were very open. Of course, some also tried to catch me as a part of their group. But we also said always in our campaign, we want to be independent, and that's also very important for us, because then we can point right at the themes which we want to talk about. And I had a lot of, I was spending a lot of time telling everybody, we want to cooperate with you, but we don't want to get a part of your group, because we need to be independent so that we can talk about the topics and the issues which are important for us. But they were all very positive, and let me also tell you, in this situation where we are right now, where the parties who are forming the government are writing their fundament, so to say, their common contract. We can see that minority issues and those issues which we were talking about in the election campaign are apart. They have them on the screen, so to say, and I think that is very positive as well, because we can see already that our politics works, and that they have heard us, and that the issues which are important for us probably will get a part of their common round of their common contract, coalition contract, which they are working on right now. Yeah, I hope this was the right answer for you.
Yeah, and I heard in the beginning, I heard a little invitation. So if we don't make it to the Hague, we definitely come to Berlin. We accept that. and yeah, we can reach in contact, and I'm looking very forward to see how we're working over there and how things are going over there. So yeah, I want to thank you very much for this time, and I think we go further around here. Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Stefan. Good.
Thank you.
If there's some questions, Stefan, directly now.
You get the chance.
But yeah, Ilse. Ilse Johanna.
Stefan, ik zit voor een tonk. Voor een tonk. Je zit aardig de dansen en de vassen.
Tag du med, Stefan.
Selv tak, Ilse. Det tager jeg gerne med. And let me say once again, because I didn't hear you in the start, I know probably you're going into an election campaign now and have a lot of work to do, but you're very welcome in Berlin, and I actually would appreciate to meet you there, and let's have a look on the schedules and on the calendar. Maybe we can do something in 2022. I would be very glad and happy if you could be there somewhere in 2022, and we could have a talk there. And once again, sorry for that I can't be here, but I have some private things in Copenhagen which were planned a long time ago. I think my wife, she would be divorced if I were to go there just now. So that's the reason why I'm not at your place now. But also, if you have some arrangements or some arrangements at your place, please invite us and invite me. I would be happy to be there, and also to see you in person. That would be very nice.
Thank you, Stefan, and greetings to your wife. See you.
Thank you. See you. Bye. Have a nice time. Enjoy.
Okay, we have not so much time in this panel, but I think
but
I have to say something about your.
It's so recognizable. When we came here, we saw the landscape. You can compare it to where we come from. When I hear Stefan talking about candidates at other parties also coming from here, we have the same. But I think there's only one party over here, also at our place, that has the real deal. No doubt about that. Other ones have to do concessions. We don't have to, because we're coming from the ground we're talking about. And I think that's so important to go there, to give them the perspective you're living in. And I think to be a part of that debate taking place over there, if it's Berlin or is it The Hague? It doesn't matter. You have to be there. You have to see how you live here, how you feel it, and how you see it. And Frank told something about the system. 150 members of parliament, almost 60-70% is from the same region. We call it Randstad. It's from The Hague, Utrecht, Amsterdam, and everything in between. And I don't want to blame them because they think from our perspective they are born and raised, but sometimes it's different. And I don't want to say what's good or is bad, but to be there and to be part of that, I think that's the main goal, to do it. And yeah, I really recognize that story from Stefan. And also when he's talking about the Danish and the Scandinavian way, we love to talk about the Frisian way, the Friese aanpak. It's really a big thing in Friesland. We do things in common with each other. We discuss it up front, discuss it many times, from the local pub, the kneipe, to the schools. Everywhere we discuss it up front, so you don't have a conflict afterwards. And I think that's the thing that makes democracy so strong, because you're really in the meerskip, we say it. Yeah, the same word here, I think. I think that's really important, to be on the ground, on the field, between the people. And I think the only parties who can do it are the regional and the minority parties, because they know what they're talking about. We don't like to say that we are a minority. We are, but we have a very strong feeling that we aren't, because we're really self-confident. But when you replace the word minority for the word countryside, I think you have in the context of the Netherlands, you find so many partners who have the same feeling, the same issues, the same position. And yeah, like I said, from the arriving yesterday to what I hear now, it's really a lot in common. And I think we have to make each other stronger in that. Today is a good day to start. We go to Berlin. I think it's also good. You were in Friesland 10 years ago. You have to come back. Yeah, you have to come back later on. We show you over there. And yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. I have some question to Sibyl. Christian, you have to take this thing.
I have been in Friesland 3 years ago, so.
Oh yeah.
But Frank said that the provinces has much of just execution of laws. Is that maybe a topic for you and your campaign? Did you discuss that?
Yeah,
More rights to the provinces?
I think that must be part of the agenda, but to reach that you have to be there, because the decisions are made over there. For example, yesterday we looked what you have to spend over here in Schleswig-Holstein. You have 2.5 million people living over here. We have around 650,000, so a quarter. But you talking about 14 billion euros. Last know the numbers. Yes, we're talking about 400, and we're going back to 250. So if you take a quarter of that 14 million of a billion, you talk about 3-4 a billion. Yeah, it's not comparable. All the big things, all the big decisions are made in The Hague, and that's another topic. One size fits nobody, and we have a government who always thinks in one size. What works on a bigger scale doesn't have to work at the countryside. For example, when we talk about the numbers at schools, very small schools, maybe it's not the best, but when you make the numbers for a school to stay open higher, on the countryside you feel it. And that topics you have to discuss. And for other example, the Frisian language and culture, our party started 60 years ago. When we took place at the regional elections, the Frisian language and culture wasn't something only from us anymore, but after 10, 20, 30, 40 years, all the parties were talking about it. So the emancipation of the Frisian language and the Frisian culture had a boost of us joining over there. And I think we have to do that thing again but then in The Hague, because the laws are made in The Hague, we have very many laws who protect opposition, but when it comes to the practical side of it, they forget the laws or they look the other way. And today there was also a nice thing in the newspapers over here when they called the minister for that kind of stuff. She didn't answer the phone for 40 times. So you see, it's not a subject where they really concerned about. And I think we are the only party who can bring that on the agenda. Also, when it comes to trust, people believe us because we're real. That was also a long answer, I think. Yeah.
Also ich glaube wirklich, man kann sagen, dass da doch viele Gemeinsamkeiten sind. There are very similar things between FMP and SSV about this. Dear friends, I think we need, maybe if there are not more questions, I think we need a little coffee break before we go to our fantastic Viking campaign. But I think 50 minutes coffee break, and then we start again. 50. My English is not perfect. Was hast du gesagt?
Leute von Nordgard, der Tag des großen Aufbruchs rückt näher. Die Götter haben uns ein Zeichen geschickt. Im Osten zieht ein Sturm auf. Unsere Nordmänner dort bringen nicht genügend Silber heim. Und die Ernten im letzten Sommer waren erbärmlich. Unsere Straßen sind kaum noch instand zu halten, da das meiste Silber in den Süden wandert. Die Zuschüsse des Bundes für Krankenhausbehandlung fallen für den Norden unterdurchschnittlich aus. Schleswig-Holstein hat das niedrigste Durchschnittsgehalt aller Westländer. Doch nirgendwo in Deutschland ist der Strom teurer als im Norden. Obwohl wir die erneuerbaren Energien zum Großteil mitproduzieren. Wenn der Sommer vorübergeht, ziehen wir in den Osten, um die Gunst der Götter zurückzugewinnen.
Das sehen wir vom SSW ganz genauso. Vielleicht nicht ganz so kriegerisch. Deshalb gebt uns eure Zweitstimme und wir segeln für euch nach Berlin. Gemeinsam zur Mission Bundestag.
Am 26. September ist Bundestagswahl. Jetzt kommt der Norden. Mit deiner Zweitstimme für den SSW.
Okay, dear friends, we start again our conference, the SSW and FNP conference, and now we want to discuss the election campaign from the SSW, and we start with Per Dietrich, who is the man behind the Wikinger ship.
The Jarl of the Vikings.
Dear friends, dear viewers out on the screens, I really appreciate your invitation. My name is Per Dietrich, and I'm the press spokesman for the SSW, or as we say, the best party in the world. Never mind, I'm paid stating that. And responsible for our party's campaign for the 2021 federal election. And yes, sometimes I have to pinch my arm. How did we do that? I clearly remember this Monday morning sitting together with my graphic artist, frustrated and desperately looking for ideas. Several election campaigns lay behind us, most of which were marked by loss of votes. And in front of us was just a blank sheet of paper. How were we supposed to cope with a challenge that our own party has thought impossible for over 60 years? How should we, as a small party, manage to be seen and heard in an election campaign that is characterized by budgets of millions and faces known nationwide? How should we distinguish ourselves in the media that were less interested in content than the question of who will be chancellor, and above all, who will not? The more I talked to family and friends and journalists, the more I became aware it was crystal clear to everyone out there that we as a regional minority party could never be more than a very small sprocket in a huge and complex Berlin machine. A vote for the SSW would neither accelerate the energy transition in Germany nor stop the COVID pandemic. It would neither modernize the German healthcare system nor bring equality to the people. So why should people vote for us? Who needs a minority party when the planet is on fire? This contradiction had to be resolved. We had to turn our supposed disadvantage into an advantage. Being greener than the Greens or more social than the Social Democrats wasn't an option. Nobody would believe that. We had to highlight core competencies that only we are trusted to have. And so the way to the Bundestag, above all, was a journey back to our own roots. Because the SSW is the only party that was founded in Schleswig-Holstein and that only exists in Schleswig-Holstein. For other parties, all important decisions are made in Berlin, Stefan told, far away from Schleswig-Holstein. Our people do recognize this because in the north of the country, there is usually little of money that arrives from Berlin. Schleswig-Holstein comes up too short. That was finally a point to start our campaign. We know Schleswig-Holstein was one of the first slogans that my colleague and I scribbled on this blank piece of paper. And more for the North. But that was too PR-like and too flat. We didn't just want to tell a story of a small party that is going back to the Bundestag after 60 years and changes the world. Nobody would believe that. Our idea was to create something much bigger. The people of Schleswig-Holstein should see themselves as a part of the campaign. The mission Bundestag was intended to be a joint mission. And soon our slogan was born, "Here comes the North." The Viking ship was a coincidence, I'm sorry to say. The inspiration came from a SSV poster from the 1960s that hangs on the wall in my office, exactly this one. For fun, I asked our graphic artist to draw it and simply insert it to a poster design, and we were impressed how good it worked. The Viking ship was the perfect link between all elements of our campaign: dynamic and confident, Scandinavian and popular, traditional but highly modern for its era. Above all, it was authentic, because the North and Baltic seas were the cradle of the Vikings. Only 15 kilometers from here, in Hedeby, Vikings operated the largest trading city in Northern Europe. This longship comes toward you and says, "Here comes the North." Even if parts of our party were not really satisfied by the idea of northern warriors with axes and shields. Maybe the most important thing in an election campaign is to learn to reduce oneself. Yes, we have solutions for nearly everything, and no, nobody wants to read all this. We decided not to focus, Stefan told, on concrete political solutions, but on our unique selling points in our region. All parties want good schools, hospitals, cheap apartments, but protect and promote minorities. Only SSV can do that. Shaping politics in a Scandinavian way, only the party of the Danish minority and the Frisians can do that. Schleswig-Holstein comes up too short, well, all the other parties are to blame. We didn't even exist in Berlin. Our claim was we may not be able to solve the big problems, the major crises globally, but here in the North we can achieve a lot if Berlin stopped standing in the way. We researched some examples where Schleswig-Holstein and the minorities were disadvantaged in the past when building roads, for example, with the high electricity prices, the promotion of student laptops where they simply forgot our minority. We used these examples permanently, Stefan told, to underline our narrative that the North is falling short. Whoever held a microphone up to us got this answer, again and again and again, on all channels, all the time. We couldn't bear to hear it ourselves anymore, but it worked. In a representative survey, every third person from Schleswig-Holstein said that the interests of the North are neglected in Berlin. Our SSV ship suddenly had wind in the sails. And the Vikings, they were everywhere now. On banners and posters, on election programs and flyers. We even held the election campaign events in historical Viking surroundings. For the press photos, we had our candidates row in a Viking ship in front of Hedeby. And for our election video, you even saw it, we even boarded an entire Viking village together, cheering up on our candidate, Stefan, while complaining about the bad roads. The rumor spread quickly. At SSV, they have shields and horns instead of suits and ties. And soon everyone in Germany wanted to know, who is this Stefan Seidler, whom they call the Viking of politics? Stefan gave interviews to all major newspapers, magazines, television stations, while 10,000s of people celebrated our SSV commercial on social networks. We received amounts of sympathy from all federal states. Our parties soon began to command, other parties soon began to comment on our demands. The rotten infrastructure in the North, The electricity prices, indeed, we have to do something about that, they say. We didn't even have a desk in Berlin, and we already had achieved so much. We suddenly became the itch that no one can scratch. On the evening of the election, when the SSV flickered over the TV screens in the Republic with its own first mandate, in the first projections, more people in Germany Googled SSV than the term chancellor. In the early morning, the party leadership, Stefan, and the press team met for breakfast in the election campaign's office. There were posters everywhere and flyers. We didn't even manage to clear it up. To discuss the results and the further steps. Before the first bite, the telephone starts to glow. Stefan Seidler gave more than 200 interviews, telephone interviews, only that day. In the campaign office, cameras were piled all the way. Journalists traveled from Berlin, Hamburg, and even from Sweden to Flensburg to report on the successful Mission Bundestag. A candidate, a ship, a simple message. That's it. If I could turn back to that day with this blank piece of paper, I would repeat every single step of this campaign in every single way. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you to Per Dietrich. And now I'm waiting for question or comments from your side.
Now it's quite impressive how running your campaign. It's not the same like us. It's very professional, and I'm in the campaign of the previous elections in 2017. I was the leader of the campaign in municipality of actually the largest municipality of the Netherlands. But the campaign was very, how do you say that? You're trying to do the good thing, but if it's the good thing, you don't know, and that's a hard thing. But maybe it works. So so I'm quite impressed with it.
I think the main point is to create emotions.
Yeah.
Elections today have to create emotions and pictures. That's all. Nearly all.
Yeah. And my experiments of running a campaign at the time was zero. I was a couple of months a member of the FNP, so it was totally new for me. But they are asking me for running the campaign. Why? I really don't know. But I'm I'm a resident of of Zuidwest-Friesland, and if you wanna get the votes, so how do you say that? How want appropriate yourself? How zou je start? Hoe was die benadering letten? Hoe was die zelf benadering letten? En samen met oren meest kan ik benaderen.
To place you in the person you want to convince.
Yes. And yes, we did it like that way. So yes, and your campaign poster. It's actually the Viking ship. You took it from your wall.
Yes.
Actually, on the exactly. We had the same like the thing like that. We took the campaign poster of the Barack Obama campaign in 2007. It was a very simple poster, was it? There was only the face of Barack Obama, red and white, and when they do it right, so you can better catch it smart to to steal and.
It was only a copy. It was no steal.
No, yes, and we took that idea, but not we took not an adult person. No, we took a young child of I think 4 years old, 5 years old, with a thumb on a poster, and the only words on the poster were "Grutsk," proud. Not anymore. So and when you talk about a proud, you have immediately a great connection, and that's how we trying to do it.
Yeah, you don't have many chances before people, when they see a poster, look another way.
No.
You have this split second, and
Directly.
you have to show something. If your candidate isn't known, then you have to work with something else.
Yeah.
But Per, we have not much money in this campaign, but how do you make some event to get the press, the media interested in SSW?
Yeah, we tried with the events, the campaign events, like the start and the end of the campaign, where we invite the press. We always did that. This time we tried to work hard on getting in these Viking surroundings too. So when you go to a press conference, and the first thing you have to do is to walk 2 kilometers through wood and come out to the sea where there lies a Viking ship. That's fucking amazing, you know. You can tell them nearly whatever you want. The event itself is so good that you get the press photographers. They get some good pictures. So you don't write an evil story or a bad story when you got good photos.
No. And we the campaign of our we got councillors around the region, and we took everywhere. So the councillors are living everywhere. They are focused on one area in this whole area. I hope I've been clear, but you have to be spread the councillors in a whole municipality and focus on local themes and local items. That's so important to get the attention, to make it close for everyone, and that's the most important way to running the campaign. So it's not the larger scale as what you are doing, and that's maybe not. There's a lot to learn from us, and then we are here.
Yeah, that's definitely a key to success. If you can't beat them in Den Haag, you can beat them home.
Yes. And it starts home.
The poster was Tjerk talking about, and he's forgot it because I think. Bist heel beskieden. It was a prize-winning poster. It was the best campaign poster in the whole of the Netherlands. So that's a good thing to say. And we made a little change. It was the elections of 2019, and we had a style. It was really old. So everything is made to be fresh in 2019. Our logo is changed. Is more of these days, I think. And that was a start of a whole new generation in our party. Young people, more professional, and there was a little danger that stopped after the elections. And I'm very glad, and that's also what I heard from Fleming about the youngsters. They're still there, and some of them are here today. But if you want to do something, you have to be so professional. And I'm really onder de indruk, hoe zei je dat? Yeah, impressed of what you did. To keep it simple, but you feel it. When you see it, you feel it. And you tell us about the 2 kilometers walk. I think that's sowieso very generous. Nee, dat is geweldig, toch? Ja. Nee, but what I want to say is it's also what you, the style, what you want to see. If you don't make the development to this time, you're also lost. So you have to be. Ja, dit is de hele uitstraling.
I know what you mean. Yes, for sure you have to be professional, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to be authentic. Yeah. And that was a big process in the campaign when we made this campaign. we had to step down all the way from what we wanted and what you want to go out there and tell these people you are the best party in the world. I guess I told, but it's not about that. It's about being honest, and it's about being where everyone nearly, if you said that, being there where people are and understand what they want and what they don't want, and then state this for them. Not everything, of course. You have your own party rules, but when people feel that you see their needs, then you don't have to be professional. You just have to be honest and have a good graphics artist.
People also have to see our logo. They have to see our Viking ship. How did you do you and Andre and Philip? How did you do it? That they could see it in the whole countryside. Everywhere we drive, you could see this SS3. How did you do it?
I know what you mean. Besides the posters, we had something we called the guerrilla campaign. We simply asked our own people to place posters in their yards. We said we produce the banners for you, the posters for you. Do you have any place on your at your house or something, a wall or a fence? Then we will come and put it up. And that was really a success. And I can see some places they still hang there.
You asked for at the socials. You asked the people for to give to. You asked them to take a poster at the socials.
Over the social media, but we asked them over social media, and we asked those we know.
These people in Germany, the rest of Germany. You say.
Pardon?
Ik zei, how activated you the rest of the people in Germany for take the posters at them garden?
No, it was only in Schleswig-Holstein, and most of them were our own people from the minorities.
Yes, okay.
So we have,
okay.
You know, we have a minority newspaper. You heard about that, I'm sure. So we put it in there. We asked people via the social networks and so on. So they went to us and said, I could, I have some space for that.
Is it a collector's item now?
I don't think so. I don't. You never know. Depends on what Stefan does in Berlin, I think.
Yes, my question is, could you please tell us something about your digital campaign? The internet, or reaching people by the internet, or videos? How did you
yes, I think Philip has a better overview there. Do you remember any numbers? I think.
To the stream, so I'm about 1 minute behind.
Okay, which is wait. No, I think the video was seen by 150,000 people. This commercial, it went in a small scale. It went viral on especially Twitter, and I heard it went viral in Scotland too, for some reason. I don't know if they get the message.
Yeah, I think he also asked about our digital campaign.
Yeah, sure.
Not only the video,
sure.
the other things we did. In the
sure, we had some ads. We paid for some ads, not especially many paid ads, by the way, as a sponsored ads, but we had some. This video was sponsored on the nets for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, and then it got free to run by itself. So that's a good thing to do. Yeah, as I said, 150,000 there in, I think.
And radio.
TV, radio, supermarket.
Yeah, sure. This one ran on every TV station. The what's it called? Die öffentlich-rechtlichen, the official TV stations. And we had some radio spots too. I didn't really get any feedback about them, to be honest.
Oh, I think it was good feedback.
Yeah.
And we get 100 radio spots in the private radio.
span of campaign, digital and physical?
Yeah, sure. We are lucky that the the official TV and radio stations, they are forced to announce that. So that wasn't a big deal. But we bought some space in all the private radio stations to get our spot in there. And yeah, I think when we posted anything in Facebook at that time, round about 6 to 15,000 people watched it. I can say that, and we had a lot of postings. So it was that was quite good. I remember the last election to the Landtag, to Schleswig-Holstein elections. We were about 8,000 in the max, and maybe 3,000 there. But that was one of the first elections where we really focused on social media too. So we can see this grows.
Which span of time it was? A couple of weeks?
Month.
4 months?
Month. The problem was the Corona pandemic. We had a solid plan when we get our candidates and so on, and when they will be voted, who is the main candidate and so on. And this took a lot of time because we had to cancel a lot of events. So we had to, it was like chewing gum, you know, over weeks and weeks and weeks, and we always cancel the events. That was a hard time, especially for the candidates at that time. So we had to, you know, enjoy the people all the time over weeks with things that would have gone for weeks ago, you know. So we learned a lot about social media at that time.
But Peer, just tell, what did we do to the supermarkets? It was also something new.
You know, in the supermarkets they have these screens, digital screens with ads and so on, and we booked some time on these screens. That was quite funny. So when you stand and going to pay your wares, then you can see the SSV on the screens there. That was very successful too.
We have a question here.
You told us the SSW had not a lot of money for the campaign.
Yes.
But can you tell us what it costed in totally?
What the campaign has cost? Martin can tell you that.
It's no secret. 200,000 euro. For all, yeah. 200,000 on Dodge 20.
If you're interested in some numbers, I just pulled them from Facebook for the month where the election were, and I can tell you that we got around about 3,000 likes for our post every single day. And the other one that's really important is like the daily organic reach, and it's about 3,000 people every day. They like look for us, and when we take the numbers in total, like the last 28 days before the election, we went up to nearly 100,000 people searching for SSW on Facebook. So it's quite impressive.
How big was the campaign team, and was it a full-time job or?
100 people.
We met with I think it was 5 or 6 people every Monday to plan the campaign, to look what actually is in the news, how can we react, are we still on the right way, and if we, you know, if you want to make an election event out in the nature, in some kind of museum, it's a lot of planning, you know. So we always had these Monday meetings just to be aware that we had everything under control, which we didn't have very often, but we managed to get it under control. To be honest, it's a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to plan, and I would say the core was 3 people, us 3, and us 2, and the graphics artist, and then small and bigger groups around, you know. We had central campaign teams around the candidates for the first time. I don't know if that has been said before. That was something new we tried. Before that, you know, you have your party districts and things, and normally we said, okay, it's your candidate, so the district is some kind of responsible for what this candidate can do and where he can go and this time we said the candidate is the centrum and he has a team around him or her and then you maybe can ask the district, do you want to join us in the campaign? That was easier for the district because they didn't have to be to plan that much, and we were quicker planning because the candidate and his team just could move, you know. So I think we will repeat that to the next election too.
But I also think it was the first time where we really have a centralized campaign. Very much. It's not easy because every SSV district or want their own thing. But we say this time it must be a centralized campaign so that we are sure that the message came the whole way. It's not easy because people have their own thought, but we think it's very important to have this centralized campaign. Although, okay, if there are some good ideas, yes, we say yes to this. But this centralized campaign, Peer, what do you think? It was a success this time.
Absolutely. The best thing to do for everyone. That was really win-win because it took some responsibility from the districts, and I think they were very glad for that they didn't have to plan all the things for their candidate because we have much bigger resources to do that and maybe also more professional people to do that. So that was good, and yes, it's kind of a full-time job, but none of us had it as a full-time job because we had all our normal job besides that. I'm also press spokesman for the SSV in Kiel in the parliament there, so it was business as usual and a lot of campaign on top of that.
I also have a question. Yes. Have you also made use of data analysis in your campaign?
Yeah, lots of that. We had from the last election, we had a survey, representative survey, about what makes people in Schleswig-Holstein love their state, and that was not really surprising, but it was good to know that we had the right thought about that. That's the nature. That's these two seas to the west and to the east, and what they are proud of. This northern attitude and stuff like that. So we were very positive that we could transport precisely this attitude. So I think that was quite good. We had this survey I told of too, where we asked people if they think that Schleswig-Holstein's interests are neglected in Berlin, and more than 30% said yes, I think so. So we knew we had these 30% to talk to. Another thing, of course, we have this several analyses from who voted for us the last time and the time before, and you can get some good data material about that, not that small scale than you want to, but we knew that the elder people normally don't vote for us. Let me say the old people don't vote for us. They vote for the Christian Democrats usually. And we know that workers, for example, they tend to vote on SSV for some instance, while academics, fewer academics do, and stuff like that. So we knew a little about it, but it helps maybe when you split up your campaign. So you say, for example, on the social networks, you say, I want to make an ad for young people. Then you can use this kind of data, but in the main campaign, you appeal to everyone. So it doesn't really help. I think. Yeah, das ist richtig. We of course looked at where did many people vote on us and where did few people vote on us, just to decide, you know, if you wanna make something extra there where people don't used to vote, or if we also to see where do we want to spend our money, you know. If we got a city long down south where people usually don't used to vote on SSV that much, but we can see we have high votings there, then it would be then we would say, okay, man, let's have some posters up there, let's do some more there.
And also you talked about your campaign a little bit about social media, but we have COVID-19 restrictions. You know where the people live that you want to target.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you tried to physically reach those supporters?
We were lucky that the COVID pandemic had flattened down when we had the hot phase of our election campaign, so that wasn't a big problem, I think.
Was in the summertime.
Mm-hmm. September. Luckily.
Yes. And also about your candidates, what is your process for selecting already existing members of your party? But I also think you got a lot of new members that might have wanted to be a candidate. So how was that process for you in selecting candidates?
Maybe Martin wants to tell about that. No. So we have a hybrid process. Of course, if someone can say I want Flemming to be candidate, and our party you know votes about that, or you can of course come yourself and say I want to be candidate, and then we had some events. We had some live streams with the candidates. There were 3 of them, where people on Facebook could ask questions, and we had a conferencer from the Danish minority newspaper to lead that event. That was quite good. So people could see online these 3 people want to be the main candidate for the SSV, and they could participate and they could ask their questions, and I think that was a very good process.
And my final question is about media coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been your experience in terms of media coverage, and do you think you have experienced more press coverage or media coverage because you are a party for minorities?
Yes, I don't think we have experienced that much media coverage any time before. That was insane, really insane. You should know, we say we doesn't care that much what all the big newspapers in Germany write. Of course we do, but it's not that important as what our regional newspapers write. So our focus is on the regional newspapers, because we reach our own voters there. You don't necessarily do in one of the big German newspapers. So that was what we focused on, but the others came by themselves. Let me say that I think we arranged one press conference in Berlin. We were there for 2 days. That was my Berlin visit for a whole campaign, inclusive all what followed after and before. So let's say over 2 years I've been to Berlin once to make a press conference, and every other media coverage was produced from home, simply with press informations and things like that. But they at one point in the campaign, everyone by themselves wanted to know who Stefan Seidler is. That was quite funny. I haven't experienced that before, and I really hope we do this next time. That was easy.
Okay. Ich glaube, wir sind sehr gut rumgekommen. Are there further questions to these three guys about the campaigning? Okay, thank you. Oh, Ilse.
Also ik heb een vrouw gemoord, maar ik wil nog wat vertellen over de campagne. Per heeft het ook met de Goldmaut groepe Martin. Ook een kon immer haben Frauen an zitten, ik bruk nog dat heb ik even steunen. Wir hebben an ganz graden Tochte hat, dass wir auf der Berlin waren. Weil wir sind man ganz leid Partei. Was uns utmacht als Scham. Scham. Ich arbeite in Krankenhaus und mein Chef hat dann gesagt, na, Bundestagswahl, machen Sie damit? Ja, habe ich mir schon gedacht. Sie wählen mich ja sowieso nicht. Nein. Aber wir haben ganz voll Respekt für eure Partei. Wir sind zur Kampagne wehen in Landschaften, die haben uns eingekieset. Ich habe gesagt, was wollen wir die Ehre? Kiese uns ein. Das sind Konservative oder das sind Grüne. Und wie sind wir hannekehrt? Ich habe mal Stefan und mal Sibylla und die haben Respekt für. Diese kleinen Leute, die wollen nach Berlin. Und was haben wir geschafft? Die haben geschafft, das Symbol her, das haben wir ja auch für uns gemacht. Das Symbol als ein Wikingerschap, wo man alleine steuert. Brückt man ein Team. Und dieses Mannschaftsteam, das wird gut für uns. Wir brücken in Aachen ein. Wir brücken an Stefan, wir brücken Sibylla und wir brücken auch da ganz jung, Meilis Rosberg. 21. Und die Üle, so als ich, sind auch dabei. Und Timmermann, wir auch dabei. Und Moin Win, wie wir ganz Moin Win hat. Unzufriedenheit mit der Bundespolitik, Klimapolitik. Und der Bürger, der Wähler ist unberechenbar. Die Jungen, die denken immer, man kann alles gut analysieren. Das kann man auch. Aber der Erfolg kommt in die Urne. Und der Wähler ist unberechenbar. Und was ich nochmal sagen möchte, ist, wir haben hier den Fokus, wir sind Minderheit. Auch, sagen wir. Aber uns Minderheit manche, da kiese uns vielleicht zu voll. Wir haben ganz voll Stimmen von Automannschaften. 20.000 Stimmen im Holsteiner Bereich. Das sind keine Friesen und Sympathisanten, das sind Sympathisanten für die Partei. 40.000 Stimmen. 20.000 Stimmen.
Nächstes Mal.
40%. So weiter. Und Ton. Also das Team, das macht dann auch Spaß. Automanche. Wir haben 50% Frauen. Da soll die erstmal hinkommen. Und ich setze mich ja, sage ich mir auch Ihnen von Friesenquote. Also wir heben Frasche, aber Donche San Moor. Die Ostküste ist viel vertreten. Die Westküste kommt, ne, Sibylla? Und Ton.
Vielen Dank. Ja, und vielen Dank ans Podium hier. Thank you for this time. Give it a hand. Thank you. Ja, Leute, wir nähern uns langsam dem Ende von dieser spannenden Konferenz. Und jetzt sammeln wir ein bisschen auf. Und ich bitte Sibylla Nitsch nach vorne und ich glaube auch Sibylle wieder. Now we want to make some conclusion about this day and look about in the future. And we want to discuss German, was bringt eine Teilnahme an nationalen Wahlen einer regionalen Partei oder Minderheitenpartei? So what is the effort for Sibylla is starting?
Ja, willkommen. Ich muss das hier auch leider auf Deutsch machen. Das ist für alle besser. Das klingt dann ähnlich wie Flemings Einstiegsworte. Dann kann ich das besser rüberbringen und dann, glaube ich, sitzen ganz viele da und übersetzen das sicherlich gerne. Ja, also wir haben ja die Ausgangslage gehabt, dass auch sehr, sehr viele Kritiker da waren, die auch gesagt haben, also diese eine Person, die national sich einmischen möchte, bringt nichts. Also haben wir uns die ganze Zeit, im ganzen Prozess damit beschäftigt, was bringt es überhaupt? Das mussten wir als Kandidatinnen ja auch dann die ganze Zeit vermitteln. Und ganz generell ist ja da dann einfach das Faktum, dass man eine politische Partei ist und man sich überall dort einmischen sollte, wo man es kann. Und bei uns fehlte einfach die Bundesebene seit vielen Jahrzehnten. Die fehlte in dem Sinne, dass wir einfach unsere nationalen Rechte nicht einfordern konnten, aber die fehlte auch in dem Sinne, dass wir oft Grenzen erfahren haben. Also sage ich mal, wir hatten landespolitische Herausforderungen, die aber mit der Bundesebene verknüpft waren. Dann waren das harte Verhandlungen, jahrelange Verhandlungen und oft haben die dann auch nicht zum Erfolg beigetragen. Oder wir haben kreispolitische und kommunalpolitische Entscheidungen, die auch eng verknüpft sind mit der Bundesebene, die also auch die Lebensqualität der Leute beeinflusst. Und auch dort hatten wir immer eine Grenze, weil wir einfach nie diese Situation hatten, dass wir uns an eine Person, die eine von uns ist, wenden konnten. Also das war schon erstmal so die ganz übergeordnete Sache. Und eine Sache, die natürlich auch für unsere Identität einfach ganz, ganz zentral ist, dass wir als Minderheiten, die friesische Volksgruppe, die dänische Minderheit, dass wir am allerbesten für unsere Interessen sprechen können. Also spricht eine Person aus einer anderen Partei für unsere Interessen, dann kommt das nicht so gut rüber. Oder diese Person geht auch nicht aufs Ganze und macht nicht den letzten Einsatz noch mit. Das sehen wir also das als riesigen Vorteil. Jetzt ist es ja so, wir können im Moment noch keine Erfolge messen. Die Erfolge, die wir messen können, das hat Peer auch sehr eindrücklich erklärt, das sind also die medialen Höhepunkte, wo wir einfach sehen können, wir haben eine Riesenaufmerksamkeit bekommen. Wahrscheinlich ist es jetzt schon, würde man eine Umfrage machen, dann würde man jetzt schon also einen riesen Prozentsatz mehr haben an Menschen, die wissen, was sind nationale Minderheiten, wer ist dieser Stefan Seidler, was ist die friesische Volksgruppe, was ist die dänische Minderheit und so weiter. Dann empfinde ich es als zentral, dass man mit dieser Repräsentanz auf Bundesebene auch sagen kann, in Bezug auf alle anderen, die Verantwortung haben, zum Beispiel im Bundesinnenministerium, wo auch das Referat für Minderheitenfragen angesiedelt ist, aber auch im Kultur- und Sprachbereich natürlich, dass wir darauf pochen, dass die Bundesrepublik Deutschland eine nationale Verantwortung hat für die Minderheiten. Das ist auch der Eingangsslogan auf der Bundesministeriumsseite. Geht es allerdings ans Eingemachte, an das Konkrete, dann werden die Fragen oft auf die Länderebene oder auf die Kommunalebene geschoben. Was sicherlich auch eine Berechtigung hat, aber die nationale Ebene muss ihre Verantwortung einfach übernehmen. Ja, und eine Sache, die ja jetzt kommt der Norden und Schleswig-Holstein kommt zu kurz, auch gelungen ist einfach zu sagen, wir haben ganz, ganz viele Probleme bei uns im Landesteil. Und diese regionalen Themen, die können wir jetzt also umso mehr in Berlin anknüpfen. Also das sind dann ganz spezifische Sachen. Zum Beispiel, dass es nicht genug Investitionen gibt in den Nord-Ostsee-Kanal. Der Nord-Ostsee-Kanal ist ja für uns eine wichtige Wirtschaftsader. Die kommunale Welt leidet sehr darunter, dass der Bund zu wenig investiert oder halt auch einen Investitionsstau hat. Und Da können wir jetzt also ganz anders mit unseren Anliegen nach Berlin gehen. Eine andere Sache, die die friesische Volksgruppe sehr stark betrifft, ist auch die Frage zu sagen, Minderheitenpolitik ist Friedenspolitik, das ist klar, für uns im SSW, aber Minderheitenpolitik ist auch Strukturpolitik. Weil wenn wir keine Strukturpolitik im Sinne der Minderheiten betreiben, dann gibt es uns vielleicht irgendwann nicht mehr. Das können ökonomische Fragen sein, das hat natürlich auch mit dem Bildungssystem zu tun und auch mit der öffentlichen Daseinsvorsorge. Aber wenn ich an die friesische Volksgruppe denke, dann geht es zum Beispiel in der Klimafrage mit hohen Wasserständen und mit den Herausforderungen, die wir haben für unsere Landschaft hier an der Westküste, dann geht es da ganz stark auch um die existenziellen Fragen. Eine andere Sache, das hat Ilse Johanna auch letztens in einer Debatte genannt, ist, wir haben sehr, sehr starke Probleme in dem Bereich Geburtshilfe. Das heißt also, es gibt keine Geburtshilfe, also es gibt Geburtshilfe auf den Inseln, aber keine Stationen an den Krankenhäusern. Das heißt, Frauen, die ein Kind bekommen von den Inseln, die müssen ans Festland. Und wenn man dann also am Festland ist, dann ist das Kind in Flensburg geboren, in Heide geboren oder in Husum geboren, aber nicht auf Sylt oder auf Föhr. Und das ist auch ein extremes Problem in der Strukturpolitik für Minderheiten. Ja, und jetzt ist es halt also so, dass wir halt, dass wir hoffentlich genau diese Punkte erreichen, dass wir also dann hoffentlich einfach den Druck auf die anderen Parteien erhöhen können, aber auch das Bewusstsein in der Bevölkerung schärfen können. Und also viel mehr Minderheitenpolitik einfach auf die Tagesordnung zu bringen. Und das halt in dem sogenannten politischen Dreiklang zu sagen, wir haben also die kommunale Ebene, Landesebene und die Bundesebene. Und jetzt zu sagen, ja, wir können jetzt so also wirklich vollständig arbeiten und haben halt viele Türen offen. Es wird sicherlich um kleine Fragen gehen, die für uns aber von Bedeutung sind, gerade für uns als Minderheit. Also das heißt zum Beispiel, wir kriegen jetzt eine neue Gesetzgebung für die Ganztagesbetreuung in den Schulen. Das heißt, wenn die jetzt geformt wird, und dann können wir sofort uns einmischen in der zweiten Lesung vom Gesetz und müssen nicht erst warten, bis das Gesetz da ist und dann einen Einspruch aus Kiel bringen. Und so gibt es viele Exempel noch, um zu sagen, warum das extrem wichtig ist. Und wir können jetzt halt auch einfach sagen, ja, die Mehrheitsbevölkerung, die braucht jetzt nicht mehr weggucken, weil wir sind jetzt repräsentiert auf dieser Ebene. Und wir haben ja mit unserer Kampagne, mit dem ganzen Prozess dafür gesorgt, dass wir gehört werden. Wir werden auch regional mehr gehört. Also ich kann das hier aus der Perspektive aus Nordfriesland sagen. Die Liste an Anfragen von Leuten noch aus der Bundestagswahl, die habe ich noch nicht abgearbeitet, weil bei mir melden sich Wirtschaftsverbände, alle möglichen Interessensorganisationen aus dem ganzen Landesteil und wollen mit uns in Kontakt. Und wir haben diesen großen Erfolg mit dieser nationalen Wahl also bekommen, dass wir auch kommunal als ganz andere Mitstreiter gesehen werden. Ja, das vielleicht erstmal soweit.
Thank you very much, Billa. And Sibyl, how is your position to this question?
Well, we're just starting the discussion now for the fourth time in the party, so I think we bring a lot of information back, also from of your perspective. That brings one question, and yesterday at the introduction we discussed it a little bit. One of the main things in a party, the skeptical people say, first you must have the numbers before you go. But I think maybe there is another truth, that if you go for it, if you spread out the ambition, maybe it's that the moment when you get the numbers and the numbers find you. And I am very interested in not what's the truth, but what's your experience in that. Was it the moment that you spread out the ambition when you growth as a party, or was it the moment when you reached the Bundestag, or both?
Ja, also ich würde sagen, es war beides. Also es war einmal die Entscheidung, die gefallen war nach einem sehr, sehr langen Prozess, die für ein riesiges Aufblühen in der Partei gesorgt hat und für einen Tatendrang und Kampfgeist. Also da hat sich extrem viel entwickelt und man wusste ja jetzt geht das los in was ganz Neues. Und wir haben die ganze Zeit dran geglaubt. Ja, wir schaffen natürlich das eine Mandat. Und dann kam ja der Wahlabend. Das war dann dieser große Moment, der dann nochmal, also diese Mission zum Abschluss gebracht hat oder diesen Erfolg. Also es war eine Kombination aus beidem. Und dann ist es aber natürlich so gewesen, dass wir auch die große Anzahl der Kritiker, die haben wir auf jeden Fall ja minimieren können. Also es sind, glaube ich, sehr, sehr viele da gewesen, die dann viel mehr Chancen und viel